Let's start with pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see, Kathleen. First thing we do tonight is, this is our first official meeting, so we're going to call to order, which is done, and now election of officers. Chair and vice chair. Nominations for chair.
Nominate Dave.
David Hennessy.
Second. Any more nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Vice Chair Jeff. I nominate Jeff.
Justin Hennessy.
Any more nominations? I tried Justin, I said Jeff.
I heard you.
All those in favor? Congratulations.
You can vote for yourself.
Abstain.
You were a fine chief, vice chair. You did a tremendous job last year, tremendous job.
I'm sure, but that was a seniority to make a company.
Let it go, okay. All right, first of all, we'll start with the Patent-Free Library. And Leslie's here again.
Would you like me to come to the
Come on
table?
down.
Good seeing all of you. Right. I'm leaving my coat on, I'm a little chilly. It's damp night.
We can't afford the heat.
All right. So you've all seen the request letter and a copy of the budget, and I think the other thing I included was a breakdown of the municipal breakdown. I think it was the third thing in the request. So let me know how you'd like me to proceed. Do you want me to talk about the budget? Do you want to ask questions about that?
Let's go through your budget.
Okay.
We'll start with that.
All right. So, we'll start with the revenue. You can see, it's a little bit of a tricky year in that, in our next fiscal year, it's the first time in a decade that we're seeing, due to the market, a drop in our endowment draw. And that's just due to, the downturn in the overall market. We calculate our endowment draw on a 12-quarter rolling average. So, and we do it over 12 quarters so that when you have highs and lows in the market, it sort of averages itself out, so we don't see immediate, it helps us out when there are big shifts in the market.
What's the total endowment?
Excuse me?
What's the total endowment?
Right now, the last time I looked a few days ago, it was 8.4 million. So when we calculated the numbers with this budget figure, it was around close to 8 million, and we were dropping off quarter numbers that were about 9.5 million. So we were really seeing, so because of the downturn, we were dropping off some higher numbers, which made that 12-quarter average really start to drop. And we're expecting to see a little more droppage next year as well when we begin our budget process. So that hurt us a little bit. We did have a really great year of fundraising last year. We raised about $157,000. And so we did increase our fundraising expectations to $150,000 this coming up here, and hopefully we'll be able to raise it even more in the next year. Our friends are trying to get back to their $18,000 pledge, but they're working their way back up post-pandemic. The bookstore is doing well. So you can see, of course, and we're asking the municipalities for increase across the board.
Can I ask just real quick, so the numbers for 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23, and 23, 24, those are actual or budget?
Those are budgeted, those are not actual. I mean, those, oh no, the revenue, I'm sorry, these are actual, these are what we got.
Okay,
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, these are actual. For the municipal contributions, what we drew in the endowment, but some of these other ones are not. The Friends are actual, Bath Historical is actual. The printing fees though, those are not. I'd have to go back and look at what we actually got for those. Fines
Okay.
aren't necessarily actual, because we don't know necessarily what we're gonna get in fines. And now we're fine-free. But the actual, like the municipal contributions, those are all actual, and the endowment is all actual.
The thinking behind fine free,
Excuse me?
behind fine free, what was the thinking?
So the fine-free is, so that's, I was gonna tell you a little bit about that. So that's something that libraries are doing, actually across the country. So we're trying to remove our barriers to borrowing and be equitable for all. And so one of the things we also noticed is over the past 5 years, our fines have been decreasing. about 5 years ago, we were getting about $11,000 in fines, and then the last year when we were getting fines, we were getting about $6,000 to $7,000 in fines. One of the reasons being because many other libraries in Maine that were part of the Minerva Consortium aren't fining. So if they're not fining, if we have items, so what happens is, if we circulate an item borrowed by another library, if that that library's item doesn't fine, so what we were doing is, if we're borrowing an item from the Curtis Memorial Library, we sort of get their fines, they get our fines, but if they're not fining, then we can't get a fine on their items. So, we're not able to realize as much fine, and it's decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. And we also wanted to be equitable, so we got a grant for this year to cover the fines. But it's a decreasing revenue source anyway. So we decided to just go fine-free going forward. So this year we've covered it because we got a one-time grant. But going forward, we'll remove fines altogether. And most main libraries are going that way, and don't fine anymore. But it's a diminishing revenue source for us. As far as the revenue side, most of it hasn't changed. The biggest increase are salary and wages, and the majority of that is because,
expenses.
oh, I'm sorry, expenses, excuse me.
And are these years actual or these budget numbers?
These are budget numbers, these are not
So you don't
actual.
have any actual numbers?
The only actuals I have are for the past year, and I only have, I've got 2 or 3 copies of actuals. You can have, I have an actual, you can share them. I have actuals for this past year. Here's one more copy. Oh, yeah, 3. So the biggest increase on the expense side are the salaries and wages, and it's because we did a salary study to look at all of our employees, and we've discovered that for some of our part-time employees, we need to be a little more competitive. We have our compensation philosophy, the board approved to pay employees at the midpoint, so we look at what other library workers are making in the state of Maine, and we determined that we were way too low in a couple of different areas. So to try to get us to the midpoint, we increased a couple of part-time circulation positions. So that, and we're also giving a 3% cost of living increase.
3%?
Yes. So that's basically where most of the revenue, expense increases are. And then, of course, the Social Security taxes that go along with that. And pretty much everything else in the budget is staying the same with some minor adjustments, a little bit more for programming. We've adjusted based on actual in a couple of other areas. We decreased supplies a little bit. A little bit more for programs for children, and we put a line in for history room programming. Other than that, materials is the same, it's pretty much about the same. A little bit more for the bookstore because the rent has gone up.
So the bookstore, you said, went down $36,000. That's before expenses.
Right,
So it's,
so you, right, you have to
so take
subtract.
$13,000 off that.
Right, because the bookstore, the Friends are not their own 501c3.
Okay.
So between the pledge that the Friends give us and the bookstore, they usually, it ends up being about
About
$40,000.
40,000, yeah.
Yeah,
By the way, any of you who are interested in the library, if you're not a friend, you really should join. It's a terrific organization. Sorry, I had to say that.
so the one difference though I will point out in the revenue this year, which is, so in order to keep our costs to the municipalities down, we did something which we don't normally do, which was a carry forward. So you'll see in the last line of the revenue, we have a $42,000 carry forward from the previous year. And that was because we had some money that we did not spend. But what we normally do within a carry forward is, we usually put it to capital reserve. So that did not give us any money to put to capital reserve this year. And that's not ideal, because when we have building needs, then we don't have money,
What is
extra money for repairs.
What is the reserve now, the capital reserve?
Our capital reserve now stands at about $100,000, because we've had to use some of it. We have some more capital needs, so we've not been able to add to that.
Right.
So that's not ideal.
If you have an emergency, you have an $8.5 million.
Right, but the one thing to know about that is that $8.5 million allows us to, it almost funds about $46,000, 46% of our operating. If we didn't have that, we'd have to rely more on other sources for funding. So that's the reason why we can have the low amount that we charge, or that we ask the municipalities for. I think we currently ask for about $21 per capita, and the state average is over 30. So we're able to keep this down because of being very fiscally conservative with our endowment. So we draw 5%, but that's even on the high side for nonprofits. The average amount recommended is about 4.
Right, I'm just saying that if there was some catastrophic thing, you would not need to have a loan, you could dip into your endowment.
We could if the board chose to do that, but if we start dipping in more and more, then we can rely less and less on that for operating.
Are there any restrictions on that endowment?
The board gets to decide. Right now, there's a restriction on the amount we can withdraw on, and that's board mandated, so they can make that decision.
What I'm asking is, are there restrictions on what
The
the
old-
purposes can be?
Yes, if a donor gave a restriction, then there is. So
Not the general endowment.
some of it is restricted, some of it is not. And that strictly depends on the gift itself.
So the actuals for the salaries that you passed around were for 22-23, not 23-24 yet.
I don't have that because we're in the year, our fiscal year is July to June, so I don't know. We're in the middle
Right.
of the year.
Right, so it was 655,000 in 22-23 when you thought it would be 669, and then 23-24 it's 697, and now you're going up to 748. So could you explain the big jump in the salaries?
Right, that's what I'm saying. We are going to be increasing all part-time circulation positions because we did a salary study and determined that they're not being paid at the midpoint. So we're looking at more significant increases than just a 3% COLA increase for certain positions. The reason we didn't spend all of the salary money before was because we had 2 people that were on maternity leave and one went on disability. So they didn't use
Right.
the money that was allocated. So that's not something that happens every year.
So then they came back and.
Right, so that's not something that happens every year.
Yeah, it's just in 2 years, it's almost $100,000 change, so I was just curious.
But some of that is also, when you look at benefits, one of the things is that, you know, health insurance goes up, so it's not all salary and wages, there's the benefits
Oh,
and
yeah,
things that go along
benefits,
with
everything.
The total package.
it. Right. So what other questions do you have about the budget that I can answer?
Do you anticipate any major maintenance repairs to the building?
So one of the things we're doing right now is, we are, as part of a strategic plan, we're looking at a building HVAC and sustainability project. So we are working right now to finalize that project and then figure out how we're going to fund the project. So the project consists of so we did a capital needs assessment also a few years ago, and so we're at the end of life with the rubber part of our roof. We are also want to upgrade, most of the lighting in the building is not LED lighting. So we have a roof replacement that's needed. We also have an aging HVAC system, and we've not air conditioned in most of the libraries. So we're looking at a project that would replace the lighting, replace the roof, go to solar, which has some incentives, tax credit incentives, and put in a VRF heat pump system.
Are there grants available?
There are. So we're looking at a lot of different things, and we're also looking, we're doing a feasibility study for a capital campaign right now as well, which would also include some other building needs. We need carpets throughout the building. Our carpeting is about 25 years old. Our ceiling tile is sagging in many places throughout the building. Our circulation desks are chipping and falling apart. We have areas, you know, desks and things that are not ergonomic, they're 25 years old. Their last expansion was in 1998, and much of those things are need to be replaced. So we're really looking at some potential large capital projects, but they're not there yet. So that's coming down the pike is something.
Well, how long is your roof good for?
It needs to be replaced now. The capital needs is determined that is a project. We have leaks pretty regularly in the children's area now.
And you have to estimate for the roof itself?
That's about $350,000. The whole sustainability project is about $1.5 million. So we're going to determine whether that, so we have we're looking at a lot of different options.
Well, let's hope you can find a lot of grants. Any other questions from the committee? Okay.
All right, thank
Oh,
you.
one back here.
How many full-time and part-time employees do you have?
So we have, do you ask the question?
Yeah.
We have 5 full-time employees, and it varies, because we have a couple of floaters too. I think right now we have about 22 employees total, and 5 of them are full-time, the rest are part-time. And it's a total of about 10 FTEs.
How about volunteer activity?
Volunteers, a lot. If you count the friends, so we have a lot of volunteers. All of our shelvers are volunteer, all of the people that cover books are volunteer, that do book repairs. We have volunteers that run programs, committees, all the friends are volunteers. We have probably 100+ volunteers. And of course, all the trustees are volunteers as well. That saves us some money too.
Anything else for questions? Okay. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you.
That's it.
Have a good rest of your night.
Yeah, good night. Okay. Next, we have Julie House, the town treasurer, for the overview of the town's finances.
So I gave you the handouts, the overview I've done in the past.
This one?
Yes. With the, at the bottom, the projected June 30th. And I also broke down on a longer sheet the revenues, so you can compare them. So the first 4 columns is the current year, and it shows what we haven't collected compared to my projections. And then you have 23 and 22. And I didn't do 21 because there's no sense.
That's an off year, shall we say.
Yes.
How does the bottom line on June 30th, 24 compare to last year? You know, ballpark?
Well, it's, so look at the March 28th, it's 2.67. April of last year was 2.1. So that's like, and that's, you know, a month, so.
I didn't follow that, Julie.
Yeah, say that again, sorry.
Alright, so, not the very bottom figure, the March 30.
Yeah, up 3, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
March 30, compared to April of last year, was 2.1 last year. And 2.5 the year before. But that was catch up from old registrations.
Yeah.
So typically every year we have about $1 million left over at the end of the budget year? And how much does it take to run the town?
But you
until-
remember, there's 600,000 in there from the investment committee.
That includes the investment committee?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
so it's
broken
really,
down.
so it's really only $500,000.
I include all funds.
Yep, I gotcha. So how much does it take to run the town until the tax bills come in? From the June, from the end
Well,
of
I
the
try
fiscal
to
year
tell
to the...
people not to shop.
Yeah, I get that. Typically,
Whatever month is.
I mean, is it $500,000 from June until October?
July, August, probably 500.
So even though it
July,
looks like,
August, September.
so even though it looks like there's a lot of money there, there really isn't because of
Yeah.
that lag.
And as far as excise tax, Julie, is that holding strong too?
Yes, it's sick.
It's safe?
It's sick, I said.
Yeah, a good sick or a bad sick?
It's good for us. We're at 460,000. And we have 3 months to go.
Is that in line with your projection?
It will be above my projection. Taxes collected. We have 66 accounts outstanding. We've collected 95% of the taxes.
The 66,
For 23.
is that including personal property tax? You know,
No,
just real estate?
And is that line 90 in this long one?
Probably is a big number, yeah,
It says real estate taxes anticipated, it's like 4 million,
yeah.
4.8.
I only have 146 outstanding.
Real estate,
Mhm.
is that
the abatements?
a relatively low number to most years?
Yeah,
Good.
I only filed maybe 12 tax liens.
Wow. That's pretty good.
I don't have 6 currently with liens.
How did the abatements fall into that? Did those get liens?
No,
Are
no.
those-
No.
So those did not get liens and those are still being worked?
Yeah, those would not be liened until July, August.
Okay,
You have to pay to file your abatement, so you
Right.
pay.
right, I gotcha.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if that was in that number.
Well, I can tell you 66 people on the list are on there every year,
Yeah.
Same people.
pretty much.
So how many abatements are out there still to be
46.
decided? 46?
Have we started getting the new fees from the tipping fees from the recycling, the Casella? When does that start, you know?
It did change as of January 1st.
So we should
Yeah.
increase the tipping fees and,
Which is about 50 grand.
Hmm?
It's about 50 grand is what they projected.
We've received 75,000 so far this year in tipping fees.
It was only
Since-
50 last year. right?
since January, right?
No, since July.
Okay.
But the new contract went into effect in January.
Garbage is expensive today.
Yeah.
Really? This is.
When did the new contract go in? Is it January?
So I know you might have questions under the miscellaneous revenue, because one year there was $50,000 in there. Under year 23. That's the year we got the Wayne Farm impact fees back.
Oh,
That's not a normal thing,
yeah.
and I'm not creating an account for one-time thing.
Right.
And this year, we got a $10,000?
Yeah, there's 11,400.
Yeah, 10,000 was a grant.
What's the New Meadows solar line 63?
That's new.
What does it do?
It's a lease.
Leased out behind the transfer station.
Oh.
What are they gonna do? They're gonna do solar farm out there or something?
I see.
Is that a yearly lease?
It'll go up when they build it. That's holding the land until it's,
So that's a deposit,
Huh.
basically. That 12,000, Christina's deposit, so every year it will be different?
once they finish it.
Anymore?
No, it'll be the same until they start building, then it will increase.
Hmm.
Once it's finished, we'll see the
Okay.
difference in revenue.
Interest is actually finally going up too. And I talked him into giving me a 5.3% in the checking account.
And the checking? Do you want to give him for a rate for the investment fund now?
There's a couple different ones, because I have 3 CDs, and the rest is in money market, but the money market's better rate than a CD. And I want to say it's right around 5% too.
For the money market?
Yeah. They have 3 CDs and they're staggered. 6 months.
What's the BETE reimbursement?
Betty,
Business equipment tax exemption.
Oh, what? Slower, Justin, slower, sorry, I was,
Some businesses that are not retail can apply for exemption of some of their personal property. The state reimburses us 50% of the value.
oh, okay,
Trinken has some very nice new equipment up there.
yeah.
On that note, senior stabilization, roughly how much does the state still owe us?
60-something thousand.
They still going?
Is that,
They
that's
still
on this
owe it?
list?
Well, yeah. They may reimburse
Yes.
us.
That would have been under the real estate taxes.
Oh, okay. But there isn't,
That's all part of it.
right,
Can we reduce what we give them?
you can try,
Just saying. It's very fair.
you can try.
And I do have some of the school deposits in there, but I also have quite a few that I have not put in yet, because the Department of Education has seemed to have lost my email. And only way I figure out if there's a deposit is look in the checking account. Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare.
That's fun.
Then I have to track down and find out.
Backtrack. And speaking of the school, how was the payroll?
Excellent.
So that's a plus, huh?
On the money.
They'll be doing their first quarterly reports this week.
Push the button.
What were they
I
talking,
just get a report.
what were they talking about last night? There's an additional tax that's gonna be levied on, based on legislation for companies that have more than 10 people.
Family leave.
And that's another reason
Yes.
we wanted a payroll company. They'll keep track of all that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Because they have so many that are equivalent to, and that's a
Part-time-
nightmare. I can't.
Part-timers also earn paid leave at a certain rate, even if they're not a full-time employee.
Right,
So in your mind, this has been a positive step.
Absolutely.
Good.
We're out cents.
Good.
And that's because every ad machine's different. It
What?
happens.
Part of that question on the reserves about what we need to get through the beginning of the fiscal year.
Mhm.
Typically, when does the county bill come to us?
I don't pay that until I collect taxes. They get that on Halloween.
They normally start holding their breath and turning blue before that.
Yeah, yep. I'm collecting the interest, not them.
Does the school district pay through the summer?
Yes. Yeah,
So payroll for the school district is still operating.
Yep.
So that's part,
they have an option.
so that's part of what we need for reserves to get us through.
In the county tax this year, it's gonna be somewhere around 920,000 for West Bath.
And it was, what, 850, 860 last year? 72 maybe?
883, I think.
$818.
Last year?
Yeah, it went up 100,000.
that's fun.
It's gonna be
Yeah,
very
that's your
interesting.
13%, yeah, it's
It's 13, the proposal right now is around 13% increase in the county budget.
Yeah, that's I calculated 12.79 or something like that.
And sorry to say that we have no idea what's gonna happen as far as lawsuits go. On the treasury and Lewiston.
And I don't think the DOT fees from the state are enough. They need to give us more money. There's a lot of state roads in town that we take care of. Wow.
Maine DOT road assistance.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't seem like a lot for a year.
We have Barry's Mill, Campbell's Pond, plowing that, sanding.
Yeah, you figure per balance cost of balance.
That's great time to contact,
Local
reps.
reps. We should probably make a list of things we want to discuss with them, have them come out sometime, Allison and Eloise, yeah. Another one would be why they don't make the school funding a little fairer. And have us a minimum receiver on everything.
Don't forget special ed education should be 100% from the state and go with the student.
Good, 20%.
Anything else of note, Julie? So we're still renting a lot of cars, expensive cars.
Is there any other kind now?
Probably not Honda, yeah.
It's still a lot of new ones, because new is cheaper than used.
Just don't register it.
Well, Mark doesn't.
I still got my 180-day plate on it.
How about his buses?
I tried to get those. MW Sewell likes new vehicles.
Yeah.
That was the best thing getting over here. Like, very nice vehicles.
And they purchased a lot of new vehicles. Good. We do get excise tax from the Casella, do we?
We do now.
We do now.
Yes.
And those aren't cheap trucks either.
So this will be the first year getting those.
Do you know how many vehicles it'll be?
I don't know how many Carly's been, talking with the rep. And
But those are expensive vehicles.
yes, they are.
Oh, good. That's what we add to the excise tax.
Were we supposed to also get American Steel vehicles? Were they gonna bring some out?
I don't believe we have, but are they housed there? That's,
Yes, they are.
They are.
I'll look into it.
Are they what?
House, literally, they
No,
park in there.
housed. Got it.
How do the boat mooring fees,
How do what?
the boat mooring fees, uncollected balance?
A lot of people pay in May, June.
Now, that's a very seasonal
Yeah.
revenue.
They're both and they're mooring same time. Boat mooring, shellfish license.
Any questions for Julie? Thank you.
Thanks for organizing it.
Yes, it's good to have this.
Yeah, you got a handle on it.
If you have anything you want corrected or changed, I can do that going forward.
All right.
I'm open for any kind. I just did this today.
Looks official. All right. First look at the town office budget.
Is there any particular way you want to tackle this, or just dive right into the first round?
Beginning to end.
All right, we'll start with the select board. Last year, there was a comment made that the select board has not had a raise in some time. So I just brought that up to the next even number. Comes out to about a little less than 7%. But that should give Julie a nice round figure to work with when she takes the board.
I don't like those
So-
figures.
What is the round figure per selectman that you're proposing, Christine?
How are they compensated now, Julie?
I think one gets 500 more than,
The chair does.
yeah. 13.5
So-
divided by 3.
It's 4,200 and then 4,700, I think.
Yeah, it's 4,500. Okay. And then the chair is the 5,000.
Okay.
Right.
All other positions are 3.2% cost of living allowance. There's no deviation there.
Yeah, some are higher.
Well, it's just a little bit off based on how Trio calculates it, because we can't put in pennies. So it throws the balances off a little bit for the lower paid employees.
We're pretty much right around 3.2.
Yeah.
Can we list these out on the warrant this year for lumping the office in one lump sum?
The select board can decide to do that.
I had a resident ask me.
Yeah, it's not very transparent that it's not listed.
Yeah.
It always had that.
2 years ago we used to.
All right, any more wage questions? Okay,
Insurance and benefits. At Kathy and Madeline's suggestion, I included dental and vision 100% for employees. Comes out to about $2,500 a year. That's really the only change in benefits. You'll notice under retirement that the amount appropriated for fiscal year 2024 was significantly more than it is now. That was because of the fire chief's catch-up contribution that we had to do last year. So that's why there's a difference there.
The property and casualty insurance,
That was just a guesstimate since,
after the building.
pardon me,
What's that for?
the property and casualty.
What does that cover?
You want to explain the property and casualty?
All the
all the buildings.
buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's what it's for. It's for everything that we own. And I put a guesstimate in there because Julie was out for a couple of weeks, so I wasn't able to check the figure with her. Does that seem about right, first look?
Yeah, 'cause it's gone up almost 10%.
Yeah,
That's what's been passed on.
yeah, MMA has been estimating that for, the second 6 months of our health insurance, it's gonna go up between 9 and 10%. So they're anticipating larger increases.
Worst case.
Because that renews in January.
Okay,
So these insurances are all, these insurances are all for being municipal.
Correct. Town office expense. I have increases on the audit I didn't check in with Brewer, but Julie, I'm expecting that their fees are gonna go up. But, yeah,
Was the audit for last year done?
we
So
got 22. We did not get 23 yet.
So we didn't spend the money for last year's audit?
1 year,
Yeah, we pay for one audit each year typically.
But if it didn't happen,
Well,
we wouldn't have paid for it.
Pay for the previous.
there was 1 year we did not pay for
one
an
year.
audit.
Okay.
And we may
But this
end
year
up
we
with
did.
2 in 1 year,
So for a year,
but, yeah. Every town is,
But it's gonna be paid eventually,
Once we get it.
so you're gonna raise it anyhow.
Let's see what else.
Advertising, up 33%.
Advertising, I'm not sure. I think our advertising is going to go up for different reasons, because of the election ads. And just because we have other ideas about advertising for, to recruit committee members and other items like that. And the newspaper is charging more for ads than they've charged in the past, so it's just anticipating that we might need more money on that line.
Are we still using the newspaper?
Yeah. The select board wants us to.
For committee members?
Well, yeah, that was actually your idea, that we advertise to recruit.
Well, and then we, well.
Right, but
I'm
there's
not
the
gonna
internet,
get into comment on
there's the Facebook
Oh, I
page,
understand
there's all
That's a
kinds of.
policy decision, that the select board decided they wanted to use the paper still. And for election notices, we really need to.
Didn't we pay for election notices last year?
We did it. We're gonna have a presidential though.
I think everyone knows that we're having a
Well,
presidential.
it
I don't know why
doesn't
we're
matter whether
advertising a
people
presidential
know or not,
election.
we still
You
need
have
to
to.
advertise.
No, I understand, but it won't be any more than it was last year to advertise our local one
I mean, you advertise one election
every year.
Well, it's a primary.
The point being, the count doesn't change.
Right, I'm wondering why it's gonna go up because of an election, we have an election every year.
Well, we also have the comp plan that we're
Yeah, it's not
advertising,
just
we
for
have
elections, we have other things going on.
We have to-
We're gonna have land use ordinance amendments,
all the special meetings that we've had.
so we, I
Okay,
think it's
all right, well,
reasonable.
your list was really short, so I didn't understand, so thank you for clarifying.
I can tell you I've done, almost $1,000 in election advertising so far this year.
Yeah,
And there's another election.
right, okay.
On the town report, we didn't actually get a report printed this year because no audit, right?
We didn't, but we have an idea now about how to get the town reports out without the audit. We found out we can actually do the audits separate, so Carly is finalizing the town report. We hope to issue this year. So I believe we're going to expend from that line this year.
But do we need to appropriate more money for that? If we didn't spend it last year.
It's gonna go and carry forward and whatever, right?
You have to do,
Well,
just
we
not
are
carry forward
appropriating,
then.
we're appropriating the same amount.
Well, I don't know,
We've been appropriating $2,600 each year.
So the 26 that we didn't spend last year to go to undesignated funds?
Well, no, Carly's actually going to issue a town report this year, so we're gonna spend from that line this year.
So
Yeah.
you expect it to be done before the end of the fiscal year.
Yes.
Okay.
If we didn't, then it would lapse into surplus.
So the payroll service contract, is that, when does that come due, that bill?
Get it weekly. I get a bill weekly
Okay, cause it,
when I do payroll.
and did it start in January?
Yes.
So that's why the year-to-date for 2024 is so low compared to the budget?
Yeah.
So supplies went way up?
Supplies, yeah, we did not anticipate how much it would cost for color copies. Since we've been going through the comprehensive plan and printing and printing and printing, it really blew our budget out of the water. So we will need to appropriate more money on that line to cover the copies, because we'll be doing the same thing for the land use ordinance.
How many copies of the comp plan do you think you'll have to publish, actually print?
I printed 12 copies.
And if some citizens wants a copy,
If they want a copy.
We charge for them.
Yeah, generally we charge. I would probably ask the select board how they would want to handle that. It is on the
It's gotta be
website, so
online, too.
most people would just see it on the website.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to buy a copy, they could.
Comparative to having the color pages printed by Staples, did you check?
Staples would cost more.
Is there additional employee training slated to double that?
Yes, actually, we're probably gonna do a lot more training this year, including the property tax school, which all of the select board members have an interest in attending. So there will be that, and there will also be the New England Municipal Clerks Institute, which Carly attends.
Isn't she certified as a clerk?
She is certified, this is additional training. She attended last year and she's going to attend again, it's a 4-year training.
Oh, I thought since she had her certification, she would be done. The electric budget went up, even though the electric cost
was a
went down
guess.
35%.
That was a guess since Julie wasn't here. How was
Yeah, the electric bills have gone up, because you have heat pumps now.
So it didn't even out with the 35% reduction.
Not yet.
We're after the storm, they'll eliminate that.
plus
Mapping contract under professional services. Looks like we haven't actually paid for any new tax maps in,
Years.
No, we
What
haven't.
Page
We're-
are you on,
I
Justin?
flipped over to page 6,
Okay.
middle of the page, professional
Yeah.
services.
Yeah, we're
contract.
anticipating, it won't be in this current fiscal year.
And why are we paying for it?
Well, it's just, we budgeted for it just in case that we were able to update the maps, but that
We
didn't
don't even have an
seem.
assessor's agent.
Pardon me?
We don't even have an assessor's agent, so who's gonna mark the maps up for editing to be updated?
Well, that's a policy decision that I don't think we need to discuss tonight, but
Were the maps marked
Where
up
do we get that
as
budget line?
yes, the maps have been marked up during the
by
evaluation.
the,
By Parker Appraisal.
but not
With
the
crayon?
past assessing agent? Well, I mean, they haven't been updated since 2016.
No,
So I guess
understand
my
that.
question is, have the maps been marked up by our previous assessing agent so that they
Yes.
can be
So
updated?
there's edits on it from 2016 to now that are waiting to be done.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, it just comes up every year and never gets done, so
well, that's
it's,
not us
No, Dave, but the tax bill goes up every year and it doesn't get done is a little annoying. It all adds up.
You're right, Dave, it's not a policy decision, but if it's not being spent, I'm sure it's all gonna vote to not fund it. And recommend that we don't.
The contracts under the professional services, what does that cover? The 20,000?
I'm sorry, where are you at, Darlene?
Page 6, halfway down, like right underneath the mapping, there's contracts for 20,000.
Under assessing.
Yeah,
The $20,000.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the $20,000 is for however the select board chooses to move forward to get our assessing work done. And that has not been determined yet. So it could be a contractor, it could be an employee, it could be a consultant.
And then the abatements is what has physically been decided and paid out so far for 2024?
At the end of the year, I transfer to bring that to zero, yeah. I just do it once a year.
Okay.
From my own understanding, that abatements line, is that for actual abatements on the real estate, or what did that include, the way you guys accounted for the senior stabilization?
Actual abatements. And,
That includes the stabilization.
yeah, it's included.
Because you, if memory serves, you processed the senior stabilization as an abatement, is that correct?
That's right.
Because we haven't finalized any abate, well, we finalized 6 abatements.
And when we,
So that's not actual, that's not all from abatements filed as a result of
correct.
real estate bills.
And they also wrote off, was it 20,000 in personal property from like 20 years?
Yeah.
So in theory, part of that is being offset by reimbursement from the state.
Yep.
Part of which we haven't received.
Put 60,000 more into that and it will bring it down.
Yeah, and Janet promised to fund it, so. Counting on her.
Underneath selectmen contingency, the professional services contracts, 15,000, what is that for?
$15,000 is what we buy a contingency each year. And the $1,500 is to pay our portion of this final landing survey that we completed.
Oh, so that's it just says professional services and contracts.
Yeah, I know, it's kind of an
It's
odd,
confusing. Okay, so that's just the contingency.
yeah.
All right, and the 1,500 was for what again? I'm sorry.
We had a survey done of Sabino Landing, and we received a $5,000 grant for it. And the total cost was $6,500, so that was our portion.
Gotcha, thank you. The computers and technology, the contracts above for that at 50,000, is that for the server and stuff, or is that?
Yeah, that's for all of our computer programs and IT support and, yeah, whatever comes up during the year. This year we'll be converting to Trio Web, so that's a little bit of an additional cost.
What's the reduction of the alarm in the dumpster?
for second.
Casella's doing the dumpster for nothing, Casella's doing the dumpster now for nothing, right?
They're doing the
The dumpster.
dumpster. Yeah, they're doing the dumpster for free.
Free charge.
What about the alarms, what's that?
Is that a typo, is it meant to be 33,000 instead of 3,300?
Bottom of page 7.
Utilities.
And utilities.
It went down 88%.
Oh, 806,
Yeah.
oh, 806.
Yeah, last year we did the alarm upgrade,
But
so that was
So that
amazing.
wasn't a contract for maintenance, that was a one-time.
That was a
bump in
one-time,
year
yeah.
for replacement.
Oh,
costs.
all right.
So
Okay.
that's not an annual contract, so
it's
No,
dropping.
we didn't.
I got you, I'm sorry, I didn't.
We did both the intrusion upgrade and the fire upgrade last year.
Okay, so what's the 3,300 for then?
That's for maintenance fees,
Maintenance fees?
for the security system.
So they charge a fee every year for you to physically have the security?
Yeah.
So it's a contract.
So it's really, it's not maintenance, it's a monthly contract fee.
Right.
It probably includes.
Yeah, they come here and inspect and
Some line maintenance out there.
Yeah.
do their thing. We requested 20,000 in building maintenance last year, just to aid us in completing some projects that we're doing around town hall.
And what were the projects from last year? It was painting and,
Yeah, painting and carpets. I think that's all that came out of the building maintenance line. The other were ARPA funds.
so did the painting and the carpet get done?
Yeah.
And so the 11,000 out of the 20,000, is that all you're anticipating to spend this year for the end of the fiscal?
Actually, we were planning on finishing where the tax map files are, that hallway between Julie's and my office. Closet still needs to be taken out and carpeting needs to be redone. But we haven't been able to find an insured contractor yet, so, or who's available. So as soon as we get that person,
And are the door ADA upgrades in that too?
yeah, the ADA upgrades are gonna be part of the ARPA funds that we expend in the next fiscal year, hopefully.
So that's gonna take up the remaining balance, I would assume.
9,000 to take out the closet and carpet floor?
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna keep spending on the building as funds are available.
So what's projected for this year then, for the extra 20?
What are the projects, is that what you're, I'm sorry, I'm having a little hard time hearing.
Oh, that's okay. I should probably turn to you.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So what we're doing is we're buying a little bit of extra furniture so that we can make reasonable office spaces and meeting spaces. We've done carpeting and painting, and we did the windows, and we're having blinds installed. We haven't paid for the blinds yet, have we?
Do you
So
have
the blind- the
do you
blinds
have
are
a
coming.
breakdown of this by any
I
chance?
don't have it with me, but I can bring it next time.
So furniture, where is that gonna go, in this space across the way?
Yeah.
And then
And like
blinds?
we bought John's table that's in his office now, and a
But that's
desk
last
and some
year.
filing cabinet.
But that's last
And
year.
also, for a point of clarity here, we were asking about the building maintenance line of 20,000, you're saying furniture, but there's also a line under office equipment for 5,000 that's labeled as office furniture.
Oh yeah, where is that? Just,
That's a little bit further down.
Page 6 has office furniture as a need of $5,000.
yes,
And now on page 8, you're telling us that one of the projects you're anticipating for the
I was
20,000
just talking about
repairs
the
is
projects that
furniture.
we're doing. But are you asking about this current year or next year?
Well, what I'm asking for is what you're gonna spend the $11,000 that's in the balance on, and then what you're planning on spending the next $20,000 on. Because I think I'd like, at least me, and I think I'd kinda like to see an itemized list of what equals $20,000 that's planned.
So I'm gonna speak up too. So I took the painting and carpets out of the ARPA funds.
And windows.
I didn't get the memo.
Yeah, let me find my list here.
So I took heat
So,
pumps, windows, carpets,
No.
painting.
Yeah, that wasn't correct, so we need to move some lines around. Because we approved the air masks for the fire department, the heat pumps for the town
What
office,
page are you on?
All of them.
the American Rescue Plan Act printout.
Which is
Fall
in
in
where?
here,
In the front of it.
so it's in the front, not in the back.
So it's the heat pumps, the replacement windows, the rolling counter doors at the fire department, the LED sign at the fire department, and the air masks.
Okay.
That's what we appropriated from ARPA funds last year.
And of that,
The rest comes out of building maintenance.
But it didn't,
No, that's all
So-
transferred.
so.
So that 11,000 is
So
gonna
some
come
of,
back.
some of the funds need to be moved around, and we could probably correct that for the next meeting.
Okay, so that means
So
that,
year to date may not actually be 11,000.
Correct.
Something like that.
Because for my calculations that I did, and I'm sorry I didn't put it in writing, I didn't think of it, is that we had just enough money left to do the closet and the blinds. And the blinds are getting installed tomorrow,
Right.
and we haven't paid for that
Yeah,
yet.
no, and I'm not trying to be difficult, but when you're talking about the year that we're looking at right now, and you're asking to spend $20,000 on stuff, I just like.
The coming years.
I'm glad you're being difficult,
Yeah,
because
it's
I
a
didn't get
fair
the memo,
question.
so I did it.
Yeah.
Because part of the discussion with the school board last night was trying to find ways to cut 5,000 here, 1,000 there, and
right, so just, I need to just recap, so the 11,000, 2024 year-to-date next to building maintenance is probably higher
then
because
actually.
than the actual, because of the things that
Correct.
went to the, okay, so that's probably higher. So if we go to 2025, what's on the list?
No,
To
no,
do-
the 11,000, the 11,000 is gonna be lower.
No, higher,
Oh,
because
no, higher.
Julie used
Yeah,
ARPA
alright.
money instead of putting it into this line item, so it's gonna be almost probably the 20 now. So the 2025 is going to be
Okay,
used for
so
what?
we're adding pest control, because we found a few carpenter ants running around, that we wanna get ahead of. And so that's $2,000.
Yeah,
And we're doing the vinyl flooring throughout the building.
but that's ARPA.
yes, that's on the ARPA list,
That's on the ARPA list.
but I'm asking what's on this, building maintenance, not the ARPA list.
Building maintenance, so nothing specific. But what we have on the ARPA list is, let me go back to the other sheet. So on the ARPA list, we have the vinyl flooring, ADA upgrades, and
Generator,
the generator, thank you.
ADA improvements,
Yes.
I would support the generator, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was not fun being closed for 2 days.
Which,
Okay. So those are the projects that we have, and the select board has not yet decided if they want to use ARPA funds for Tedford Housing, who requested a donation, so I don't know if that will happen or not. The reason why I'm requesting additional money in the building maintenance account again is in case any of our improvements exceed the amount that we have left in ARPA funds. So if we want to do more ADA improvements, then we have money left for in ARPA. I don't want that to keep the select board from moving forward with improvements that they feel are necessary.
We also have a contingency fund,
fund.
yeah.
Pardon me?
We have a contingency fund for,
Yeah, there's a contingency fund, but,
it sounds like if that's an issue, it's gonna be later in the year anyway, right? And
Yeah, likely
closer to
would
the
be.
Next budget year, so you can just probably push that whole 20,000 right to next year, get rid of it.
right, and the 20,000 has nothing earmarked to it, except for maybe if there's not enough money for something
Correct.
else.
right, I'm just anticipating that the projects might exceed the amount that we have left in ARPA. That's all.
So you've prioritized the ARPA projects to what you need first, then, right?
Right, but we don't know how, when we go out to bid, we don't know how those ARPA projects are gonna come back. We don't
Understood.
know what the dollar amounts are going to be.
Mhm.
we have $40,500 remaining in ARPA. Of that, it looks like, and I hear the roof on the fire department is roughly $6,500. I imagine the generator is gonna be, I mean, you know probably better than anyone else what that's gonna
10,
go for.
15, I don't
Yeah,
know.
depends what you're looking for. For this building?
Yeah, something to run.
No, for my home.
Are you, well,
Something,
so glad you came tonight.
it needs to run the entire.
I'm assuming you want it fully
technology.
automatic, so you don't have to touch anything, right?
Yeah, because
Yeah, I
it needs to
mean-
run all of the computer equipment, and, you know, so that we can stay open.
I've got one that runs our whole house, it costs us $1,500, it's not,
But we
Anything
we
that has to be
install
10 grand.
fuel supply, there's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I think you do have to make the decision on whether you want it to run your business or whether you want it to, you know, keep the building warm.
No, we want to be able to work.
you can do that, I run my entire house on something that's $1,500.
Maybe, I'm skeptical that we could do that here.
I was just more thinking about how much business you do in hours, people, I mean, usually close.
Right.
But we seem to be losing power a lot.
Yeah.
And even when we,
I get behind.
when we lose power,
Okay, no, that's a fair answer.
I mean, I get behind.
Yeah,
when we
Yes.
lose power, we can't even work at home because we can't get into the server, so we're dead in the water.
okay.
We wanna be able to work.
But Jeff has, he's like, are you gonna run the server or are you gonna run the building? I guess.
Yeah, we're gonna run everything.
No, but my point is you can run everything. We've got boiler, refrigerator, 2 freezers, water pump, all that kind of stuff. You can run everything on something that isn't a $15,000 generator.
That may or may not be true, but we'll find out when we get specifications drawn up for the project.
But that, it's still, I mean, even if you say 15,000 for the generator, you're at 25 grand, that, you know, the vinyl floor and the ADA is not gonna be 25 grand. And you still, and that money has to be spent this year or we lose it. So that should be our first line of funding before we go to the community.
On the ADA, just, is this door that works is, or what is it?
This entire building and the fire department.
Well, it's putting, I thought it was just door openers.
You just need door openers.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, it depends what the select board wants to move forward with, because we're gonna have a consultant come and offer up a plan that the select board can consider.
I thought we were just doing the doors.
That wasn't decided.
Well,
It's something that the select board has not yet decided.
Okay.
It seems to make sense when somebody come in and give us an estimate as to what we have to do to be compliant.
Right.
Can I jump back to page 6, just in the furniture, right, the equipment? So the $5,000 for furniture, 2024, you're saying that you bought a table, and so are you done using that furniture money yet? Or is there more to buy in this current fiscal year?
We are anticipating buying, replacing these meeting chairs and buying a table for the small conference room.
Why do we need to replace the meeting chairs?
They're very uncomfortable. You sit them. They are.
So you're gonna replace them with recliners, or what?
I hope so.
But the
No.
chairs you have at the firehouse, they're a little bit more suitable
No, we're
for.
gonna
Okay.
replace them with very simple light chairs that stack and are probably, you know, not gonna scratch the floors like these do. Since we are replacing the flooring. I think,
We're
you
replacing
know,
this flooring?
after having school chairs for decades, I think we can probably spend $1,000 to upgrade our
The
chairs.
school budget's up $500,000.
That's not our problem. I'm putting forth a budget that works for us. The school puts forth a budget that works for them, and the
We
county
really
puts
need a
forth-
budget that works for the town, that can actually afford to pay.
Yeah,
for the
but,
budget.
Okay.
my concern is that because this committee has no control over the school or the county, that we get extra scrutiny. And I think when you see most of these percentages decreasing, I think that shows that we're showing some fiscal constraint.
I don't disagree with that. I think every municipality in the state of Maine, at the very least, deals with that exact problem.
Mhm.
and I think everybody's aware of that. I think that the problem, I think the problem is that because of that, everything's gonna be under the microscope this year. And I think it probably should be, right? Because there's no way you're gonna get the school budget down 13%. And so, I think it all needs to be looked at. Do you have a total here on what your total bottom line is?
We don't have a bottom line because I didn't have the school figures and we don't have a road budget yet.
Do you have a bottom line for just yours?
I think this one at the last page.
Because I couldn't.
Not being impolite, but why don't we have a road budget yet?
Pardon me?
Why don't we have a road budget yet?
Because Steve just got back from Florida and we haven't met with him yet.
Could somebody tell me where that is?
The very last, it's not,
It's on page
you
8.
can't really compare it though.
No, I mean, it's
Page 8.
It's not in a way that we can compare figures.
Oh, I don't know.
I was just talking about,
This section.
yeah.
Yeah, I went to 26, but the problem is it's like 2025 initial is 1.9 because it doesn't have the road budget in it for the school. So what would 2024's budget be without the road and without the school in it?
We would have to add up each department figure. So I can't
It's
do
not
that
for
off the top of my head.
Okay.
Safe to say the office portion of it is down.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the percentages on.
That's what that's what I was trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's showing that there's a fair amount of these lines are decreasing.
So in page 8, and just bottom of page 8 is the summary of the office section.
That's what I was looking for.
I think that's what that is.
Yeah, page 8.
Okay, thank you.
That's a little deceptive because it doesn't take into account one-time things and that's the way it is. It's not deceptive is the wrong word, sorry.
Misleading?
That's even too hard.
Let's go with misunderstood.
Okay, thank you very much.
Not apples to apples.
But for example, under the alarm thing, the big upgrade in 2024 showed an enormous decrease, and that's true, that's what's gonna happen.
Right.
But it's not really indicative of any kind of an ongoing thing that's going down.
Well, so if you take 25,000 out of the 213,900, then it's actually an increase. Not a decrease for the year.
I don't know if there are other items in there like that or not, but that's the one that just jumps out at
Well,
you.
right above the bottom line was 15,000 year to date for the reval that obviously we're not spending next year.
Yeah,
The $15,000 for the reval actually didn't come out of this year. That's another thing that we need to tweak in our accounting.
So the 15,000 in 2024 is not from this year's
No.
fiscal year?
Yes, the 15 is.
No.
What's
It
on
got
that?
paid out,
It got
but it
paid
did
out.
not get carried forward yet, so
Correct.
it's zeroed
So
out.
that's not,
Because I don't have the 23 audit,
So it was appropriated in the prior fiscal year, but not paid until this year because it was
oh, okay.
it was the holding amount for the retainer on it,
Yes.
finalizing the contract.
correct. And it was voted to carry that balance forward,
Okay, So,
and I haven't,
so the check was actually cut this year, but it was
Correct.
an appropriation from the prior fiscal year, so it shouldn't show under that column.
it would be zeroed out if I had my carry forwards.
Yeah.
You know why?
So
And I'm pushing,
if I just take the difference in that whole alarm, the difference in the alarm from 2024 to 2025 out, then the 2025 initial budget for the town admin office at the bottom of page 8 is actually up $9,500, it's not a minus. And that's just taking out that one obvious thing that
It's not-
isn't a
it's
budget
not
item,
apple
is
to
it?
apple.
Right,
It's-
just taking that one thing out.
Well,
So it's
I think we should
flat.
wait till we get an actual final number.
For the whole thing or for the town budget?
We're discussing this town office budget now. Before we decide if this is a plus or minus or how much, I'd like to wait to get the actual numbers, including the roads and the town office budget.
Good news, if you can't afford the taxes, then you have to leave. According to the revalue, your property is worth a lot.
Would you say, Dustin, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I said, good news, if you can't afford the taxes, then you have to leave. According to the revalue, your property is worth a lot.
Okay, what's next?
Where are we?
Where did we end up?
Then
Page 9, I believe.
Oh, no, actually, I was still asking about the furniture for 2025. Because I think I asked if you were
if you could do it
finished
this year,
spending the money, if you were done buying furniture for 2024, and you said you were buying more. But so the 5,000 for 2025, what's that going towards for furniture?
it's about 12,000, between the two lines, it's about 12,000.
We don't have anything specific planned.
You don't have anything specific planned, but there's a $5,000 number on it.
No, I understand that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, page 9.
That's just legal services, that's what we appropriate each year, $20,000.
Where the actuals run? That would vary pretty wildly. 87, 18.
The actuals have varied
Yeah,
pretty significantly,
yeah.
depending on what we have going on. This year we'll have additional costs for land use items and assessing.
We also had to hire an attorney.
And our attorney is leaving, so we'll be looking for a new
No, we had
attorney.
an attorney that were hired for the planning board.
For the, yeah,
But that was last year.
Well, it's
For
still
this
ongoing.
current year.
It's
It's
still ongoing.
ongoing.
That's a significant amount that we're paying for that.
Right, but that's this current year, not next year. Hopefully, we get that squared away before June.
it depends how, if we continue to use that attorney for land use.
And we have, where our attorney's leaving June 30th.
Yeah, the select board might decide, instead of going with one firm, they might choose to use different firms for different purposes. So, looks like the fire department budget is next, and John will be here next week to discuss that.
Curiosity, please, page 10 on the welfare general assistance line, we don't budget anything for that?
No,
It's a carry forward, and you have like $16,000.
yeah, the carry forward
So
always
there's
covers.
an account with a balance behind that.
Yeah.
For many years.
Yeah, general assistance, we don't have that much.
We contract a BAP for
Yeah.
like actual application.
They do the processing.
So is that an annual contract or is it only charged when we actually have it?
It's basically, they charge when they do processing. So it's not.
Decent with them.
And that comes out of that
Yep.
surplus
That- that-
It comes
So
out of
that
this.
account, I mean,
This, yeah,
yeah.
And you think there's 16,000 or so in there?
I know. Yeah, it's, I mean, a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I asked you to stop budgeting.
Just stop putting more in it.
Yeah. So would you stop it? There's too much.
Thank you for
Yeah.
clarifying.
No, I'm sorry, there's 10,000.
Because we stopped.
Any more questions on what's reviewed tonight?
So the items that we talked about that like are one-time thing and aren't necessarily apples and apples, are we gonna have those removed or just noted or put on a?
We can't remove them from the report. So we
You
can
just
just,
actuals,
You just have to know, just know, I think.
Yeah, it is what it is, but you just have to realize what it is, that's all.
Okay, so my notes are fine then.
Yep.
Yeah, 'cause we talked about having better numbers, and I was wondering what that meant, like, how are we gonna have better numbers?
well, I think what we could do is, like with the ARPA appropriations versus the building maintenance, we can move some of those numbers around.
I'll fix
Also-
that tomorrow.
Also under supplies, there was a the security grant is, I can't remember what the amount was, but the security cameras that we got the grant for, that's under supplies, but there's not the offset for the grant funds that were returned to us, so it looks like we're over budget where we're not. So there's little tweaks that we can do to make things a
If
little.
nothing else, just spell it out.
Well, is there a way to,
A
you know,
note.
if we have a list of ARPA funds, can we have a list of one-time purchases that happen year over year, so you can see, so you're not allocating
Yeah.
an incremental amount that's really not an annual budget?
But even like the line where the alarm upgrades were put in, if there was just a note saying alarms and whether it was a one-time deal in future years. If you have a one-time purchase like that.
I don't know if you're continuing on or if you're stopping, but before you stop, I wanna bring something up to you.
Go for it.
Also.
Go for it.
Sure.
The shellfish, harbor waterway,
Do you know what page that's on?
they have $60,000 in their account, they don't
60.
need. It's carry forward. This is like, same situation as the general assistance.
Did you say
With the
60,
show.
like 60,000?
Exactly, yeah, yep. They,
That's the warranty.
excise tax, mooring fees, shellfish license. It's just all adding up. You bought a boat and spent it, now it's adding back up.
I thought that was used to pay the stipends, so it's not used to pay the wages or
The
anything
wa-
for
the
the,
wardens.
for the warden or anything, or
Well,
for the harbor master, or?
it's not that much. It's not 60,000.
True.
Can you, what does the Saginaw Sheriff cost us for the warden service?
15,000.
Not much, they haven't even been sending us bills, so,
700 so far.
yeah. I mean, Joel was anticipating that it would cost about $12,000 a year.
Right.
So that, we got 15,000 here for that, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
and they've only billed us 700 so far. Does that mean they're just not doing it?
no, they're
They're out
here
there.
and they're patrolling, but I think that their bookkeeping
That
is
their accounting's a
probably.
mess.
That was like 3 or 4 months.
So if we, this is all for the Shellfish Committee's, any expenses they have?
I don't have any expenses.
You've got advertising on here for Shellfish Committee though, but that's
I
not
mean,
much.
they're,
It's not much,
yeah,
yeah.
So if we have,
expenses are not much.
so overall, we have 60,000 or so dollars in that account. It would make sense to spend that down before we appropriate any more money.
Right, yeah, why would we appropriate more?
Or,
Well, they keep
But
getting it
then-
from the fees though.
or, I think you should appropriate money and put the fees
Yeah,
in surplus.
we have to appropriate, we have to put money in the accounts regardless of how we do that.
I think you should stop doing, excise, mooring fees to support it,
So that would,
because it gets out of control.
Yeah.
This is a better black and white, you see what they need,
That's
what they
board
spend.
policy.
so that has to go in the, as a warrant article, right?
I think there's a warrant article that needs to be changed.
Yeah.
All right, so we make a note of that, so we can change that and get rid of the fees and mooring fees and whatever he's
You
license
see,
fees.
now we'll have some more money in surplus.
Yeah, at least for a few years. Thank you, Julie. Anything else you can find for us like that?
No.
Ah, come on.
$250,000 account tucked away for a rainy day.
Yeah, gives us training.
For two.
What,
Has been.
what account is that, that has the surplus?
Shellfish.
Page 16. It doesn't show it on yours, because this is the expense.
Right, so which
It's really,
number account
it's
is
the
it?
department, it's Department 20. So it's all of these lines
Okay,
under Department 20.
and it comes from the fees from the moorings?
Moorings, boat excise, shellfish licenses.
So as far
They don't
as,
need any more boats, okay? They have no clue they have this money, so I hope they don't watch the meeting.
we won't tell them.
I don't tell them.
So as far as the animal control and harbor master, nothing's really changed in their budgets at all.
The only difference under animal control is the New Coast Humane contract.
Where are you?
They suggested that we,
13.
Thank you.
they suggested that we change from a calendar year contract to a fiscal year contract, which would be better for our purposes too. However, what that means is that we have to pay for the additional 6 months. So there would be an increase in that line to make the transition.
So that's that bump of 58%.
Yeah, it should be 4,500 this year and 3,000 next year.
Yeah.
And harbor master requiring pretty much the same budget on page 17.
So we've also allocated $1,300 a year for travel, and it's never been
Oh,
used.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is
What
that,
say you about Todd?
He doesn't turn in his mileage. I cut him off. I mean, you have to,
Have something there.
yeah, he's,
Right.
goes to Augusta, takes these rabies, you know.
Well, maybe.
He doesn't turn in his
Maybe
mileage.
instead of appropriating $1,300, we can just cut him a check for X amount of money.
I need sporting
We
goods.
need-
You gotta have something to back
Yeah,
it
he's
up.
gotta prove it, otherwise,
And I assume you discussed.
And I warned him, I told him. I said, I need that now. If you don't give it to me by this date, you're not getting paid.
Well, I think at that point, it's more than just not, him not getting paid though, right? I mean, that's an obligation to pay him.
But he has to turn in his
His
mileage.
mileage.
Well, right, so make
That's
him
it.
turn in his mileage.
you can't make him.
I can't,
You can't arrest him.
Well, I mean,
I'm not gonna
make
hold
him
his
turn
hand
his
and fill out the paperwork.
How are you gonna make him do that?
so why did you give him stipend and no mileage?
why don't you just turn in his mileage?
Or remove the $1,300?
If he doesn't turn it in, we can't pay him, I can see that.
I mean, either you can furnish with stipend,
Right,
that's not tied to mileage.
well, that's kind of a town staff
Yeah, right.
management thing for Christine, not,
Yeah, all right.
but,
But on the budget, you're allocating $1,300
I know.
and never getting taxed.
and I really don't like when we allocate things that just aren't being used every single year, because they all add up.
They
and
do.
all increase
Well,
the
so-
rate,
well,
and it's not fair.
Until the problem is solved, worst case, budget-wise, he's gonna ask for mileage this coming year. So until you decide differently, the board does, I think we still have to put money in there, just because. He may turn the mileage this coming year.